All right, welcome back to World History 2. We're going to go to Unit 11, the Interwar Period. It's a time period in which instability and tension between World War I and World War II is going to happen, partially because of the Treaty of Versailles. We talked last unit about hyperinflation in Germany and them having to take the guilt clause. So they take all the blame for World War I, even though Austria and Serbia actually start the war. So there's going to be some problems there. The big thing starting off was the League of Nations. Why doesn't the League of Nations work? Well, of course, the people that created it, the United States, does not join. Why does the United States not join the League of Nations? Well, of course, it's nothing more than politics, like it always has been and always will be. The United States Congress is comprised of Republicans. Congress makes treaties, and they refuse to sign the document because it would make Woodrow Wilson popular for his election year. And they're not going to agree, so they're not going to join the League, and Woodrow Wilson will lose his election year. Okay? So that will be successful for them. But the League of Nations wants to prevent future wars, but the only people left that can really have that power and decision making are those that started that last war, and that's comprised mostly of those European powers. Yeah, it consider prizes of places like Vietnam and China and those other places, but they're not really decision makers. They're just kind of part of it. And it doesn't have power to enforce its decisions, so it's not going to work. With the Ottoman Empire collapsing, you're going to have the Middle East here. You're going to have Turkey. You're going to have Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, Jordan, parts of Saudi Arabia, just like little small sections, Iraq, Iran. They're going to be split up between the French and the British for oil reserves. World War I was dominated by machines that use oil, and that is now the new resource that needs to be imperialized. You're going to get problems there, like Britain is going to get Iraq, going to get parts of Iran or influence or sphere of influence over Iran. They're going to get Palestine. Syria and Lebanon is going to go to the French, and Turkey is going to be given independent statehood. So that's going to create some problems, and that's why there's problems in the Middle East today. So they mandate who they control, and it's going to create problems. The world is also going to go into a Great Depression. Unemployment was almost at 0% at World War One or during the war because everyone worked. Women got their first taste of working equally in the labor force, getting better wages because the men were all fighting. And all of a sudden, when men come home, these women are going to lose their jobs to men that are coming home from the war effort. Not only that, and factories were running at full scale production. Do factories still need to run at full scale production when there's no war going on? So they changed from making things like ovens or cars, and they go into making things like planes and bombs and ammunition, and they don't need to make these things anymore. So a lot of these factories go under because they don't know what to make. They go so far into war production, and the government pays for these goods and gives them a quota so they can make pretty good profit. All of a sudden, they don't have that anymore. They got to figure out what's the new thing to build, and a lot will go under, and or at least decrease worker demand. And that's also going to happen with German reparations. They can't pay back their war reparations. They don't pay them off till the 1980s or 90s. I think it's around 94. Countries are going to do things like tariffs. So the United States makes their own type of car, and Spain makes their car. The United States is going to put a tariff on Spanish cars because they can be cheaper made and brought to the United States and sold cheaper. So they'll put a tax on it, and then their cars will get a tax in Spain, and it's retaliation to each other. Expansion of credit is going to be a big part of this as well. Anybody can and everyone can get a loan. The guy pumping your gas, the guy shining your shoes is going to be speculating in the stock market. And that's usually not a good sign for the stock market. It creates a big bubble. People that don't know what they're doing keep buying and buying and buying until eventually the value of those stocks is going to be realized, and that bubble is going to pop with everybody going into depression. And that's going to happen on Black Thursday. The stock market's going to crash in 1929, and unemployment's around 40%. It's going to be bank failures, so people's going to do bank runs. Everyone's going to try to go in and go to the bank, take out their money. But the banks also speculated and used their money in the stock market. They don't have the money to give the people. And as you guys know today, the banks don't hold every dollar that you put in there. They use it to invest themselves and or on loans or give mortgages, things like that. So that money is not there. When everyone runs to get it, it's not available, and people's going to lose their money for that time. World trade prices are going to go down to an all-time low. No one's really trading with each other or interacting. The world goes from so globalized back to independent or isolated, and it's going to really slow down that economy. And that's going to really grow people like the Nazi Party, because people like Hitler says, "Hey, your kid needs glasses. Here's how I'm going to get your kid glasses." Here's how I'm going to get you fed. Here's how I'm going to stop inflation. And not only does Hitler just say these things, Hitler actually backs it up. And those fascist leaders in Europe are going to be able to fix the economy through very strong leadership. They're going to blame the Jews, of course, for that as well. So if he's going to have the inflation and depression, and it's going to make democracy weak, and people are willing to give up their rights for a guy. Yeah, he's going to say this about the Jews, but yeah, he's going to fix our economy. Yeah, things are going to get back going. He's going to invent things like the Volkswagen or have Volkswagen and BMW factories going. He's going to use nationalism. We have to make Germany great again. A lot of anti-French, anti-French schematics as well. The French took this from us. Every German should be living under our borders, kind of like when Germany originally unified with Austria or when Italy unified earlier on. And they want to occupy nearby countries. They're going to take parts of Poland, the Czechoslovakia. They want all German-speaking people under one flag, and that is the Nazi flag. For the Soviet Union, things are going to be a little bit different. They're going to entrench with communism, so communism's been around, and it's going to get more and more popular. With Lenin dying and Trotsky being assassinated, Stalin's going to take power and do 5-year plans. The 5-year plans is rapid industrialization. They're about 50 to 60 years behind Europe as we left off in World War I, but they're going to catch up within 5-10 years. But it's going to be a lot of people are going to starve. They're going to get people off farms into factories. You're going to have about 20 million people die just in Ukraine in their wheat belt alone because that food's going to be sent to Russia, and that's why they have a bad relationship today, too. Collectivization of farms. So a lot of people didn't want to give up their farming rights or their land. They just wanted to keep their crops for themselves. Stalin sends the army door to door to take all the crops. So you can't keep anything you grow. It has to be collectivized and given to all of society. And a lot of times that meant most people, even those that farm, deal without. And a lot of those farmers will starve to death themselves, and it's going to really hurt the people. Over 20 million people is going to die. And you're going to have secret police. You're going to have a great purge in which anybody that's a political rival or anyone that speaks up against Stalin can disappear. For example, one time when Stalin did a speech, the earliest someone quit was 14 minutes. He quit clapping after 14 minutes after Stalin's speech. The first guy that quit, then everyone sat down. He disappeared, even though he had already clapped for 14 minutes. That's how bad it is in Stalin's Russia or Soviet Union. Italy, you're going to have fascism start there with Benito Mussolini. He's going to be the first communist, or not communist, going to be the first fascist leader in Europe. And he's also got a king and the pope. He's going to have Emmanuel Macron and a pope, so it's also hard for him. But he wants to restore Rome, and he wants to do this by invading Ethiopia down here. But he's going to be unsuccessful in doing that for quite a time, and it's going to look bad on his group. He tries to fix the economy by keeping war going on. Japan, last time we talked about them, had industrialized and opened up to trade with the United States. They are very militaristic. They take over Manchuria, China, which is the head of the chicken. They take over the Koreas. They're going to rapidly industrialize after the United States introduces them to weaponry. And they're going to need raw materials. The coast of Japan doesn't have a lot of access to raw materials. So they're going to have to need to spread out into China to get these natural resources. And for a time, they're decent, have a decent relationship with the United States as long as we sell them oil. But we'll talk in next unit about Pearl Harbor when we quit selling them oil. But that is going to be the interwar period, and that's where we're going to leave off for next unit. That's going to set the scale for World War II.